What's going on, everybody? Mike Motivation. Can I motivate you tonight? Or tomorrow, whenever somebody watch this, can I motivate you? Comment. Let me know what you think about Mike Motivation. If you like it, hit the like button. Also, let's build a community of logical thinkers. Not be so quick to react, but logical thinkers. People that want to come up with solutions and solve problems. Because the quicker that you can solve a problem, the more space you have between problems to kind of do other things. So, with that being said, let us get to the podcast. The name of this podcast is If I Had to Start from Scratch in 2025. Anybody who hears this, if I could just reach one person, I'm good. I know you're not going to be able to reach everybody, but this is something that I would do. I'm not saying it may not work for everybody, but I'm just giving insight out there from the things that I did and that I know now at 42. Hope this helps somebody. Let me know in the comments what you think. So my first one is starting from scratch to get more opportunity. The first thing I would tell that young Mike, 17, 18, is you got to learn self-discipline. That's one of the things, in my opinion, I think guys struggle with. Even guys with both parents, when you become an adult, um, you have to get to the point where you have self discipline. It's not easy to do, but it can be done. And that's one thing I would tell myself is to have the self discipline to be able to avoid trouble, avoid things that could bring you headaches down the line. A lot of times we can put ourselves in trouble by some of the decisions that we make and choices that we make. And that's one thing I would say is avoid trouble as much as you can. And it can be done. And really increase your discipline. Because I've learned when I was growing up, a lot of times what separate people is discipline and execution. Is what separates people from people. When somebody say, "What's the difference between me and you?" A lot of times they don't want to admit it out loud, but a lot of times it be the discipline and execution. The discipline to not get caught up in the dating, casual stuff, leisure stuff, until you take care of business first. Second point on this is look at all development opportunities that's available to you. All of them, not just college, like college, apprenticeship, vocation, some kind of certification, culinary school, welding, all those things. Find out what you're inclined to do, what you like to do. Look at the opportunities, gauge out the commitment. It's a time commitment, and there will be a sacrifice. But if you want to have a better future, you'll do it on the front end. You will sacrifice that little time on the front end. And it comes with learning discipline, understanding that the discipline and execution of the commitment will bring you better opportunities and success in the future. especially if you start from scratch. Like you don't have no connections, no networks, no mentor. It's just you. You got to figure it out straight out the mud. And that's one of the things: self-discipline, avoid trouble, avoid the legal system. Look at all the development opportunities that you have access to, and determine what is the commitment, what is the time sacrifice and investment, and is this field that I'm looking at viable in the area where I live. Getting into things that's not viable the way you live can be dangerous, and you could be forced sometimes to move somewhere else in order to get a gain or in order for it to make sense. But in the area that you live, look at what are the fields that are prominent and that have value, depending on the region that you live in. So let's go to the next one. Sacrifice now to have a better future later. Sometimes this is the hardest part when you're young because you feel like you want to have fun, you feel like you're being excluded. But I can tell you that the people who did it on the front end now get to do things that they didn't get to do when they was younger, but at a higher level. Instead of hanging out, you can go to Mexico or you can go to different places and you can afford it. You're not robbing Peter to pay Paul to, go on a trip or take a vacation. But in order to do that, you got to sacrifice on the front end. You have to pick a field that makes sense, and you have to increase your value in the corporate world. And it can be done. It's all about your mindset. Now, first one is being able to live below your means in order to level up. Can you live below your means? Can you live below, or do you have to spend all of your salary? If you make $45,000 a year, do you got to spend all 45,000 of that, or can you learn to live below what you make? Not easy to do, but if you understand how to do that for a better future later, because what's going to happen is if you don't have the right mindset, somebody will come and tell you, man, you only live once. And that's true, you only live once. But if you take care of your health, develop yourself, you will have a better middle and back end. I promise you that. But you have to put in the work. Like I talked about earlier, the work you put in has to be greater than the breaks you take. If you work 8 hours, you want to work 7 hours and you get an hour lunch break. Most career jobs, anyway. So you want to work 7 hours and you get an hour lunch break. It shouldn't be break for 7 hours and work for 1 hour. That's kind of backwards. You won't get anything done either. But can you live below your means? A lot of times, it's the energy level that gets you. You have to find a way to, it's like a life hack. Where do you get the energy from to do or cook when you get home after you done worked all day? Where do you get the energy level to figure it out how to meal prep, even though you work 40 hours a week? Where do you get the energy from to do the homework when you work full time and then you go into school just about full time? But if you want to get better, that's part of the sacrifice. And you have to answer those riddles along the way. Say finding ways to do things that are affordable and they won't hurt you later. Like you got to know what you can do within the means that you have. Like going on a trip to the East Coast, that may not be affordable. Like if you want to go to Miami, that may not be affordable to go to Miami because you might have to drive. Even then, you might not can afford it because you got to talk about the gas. Then when you get there, how much does it cost to be there? Like how much does things cost? You have to factor all this stuff in, especially as a man. You don't want to go somewhere and you can't afford to be there because it's so expensive, and you really just at square root. You might well should just stay where you lived at. So what I would say is living below your means and being able to put yourself in position at a later time when you do that. And then going on to the next one. After you sacrifice, you learn that discipline, learning perseverance and endurance. This is one of the mindset skills that you have to learn. It's not saying that you're weak. It's not saying that um, you can't or you're being overpowered. The thing is, a lot of people just can't get past this hurdle, though. You have to learn how to persevere and endure things that are not pleasurable, that are not likable, people that are not pleasurable, people that are not likable. And the best thing to understand is you cannot control what another person does, but you can control how you react. You can control what you choose to do, and you can control how to process what's going on. You can either process it in a positive way or process it in a negative way. Your choice. And I would tell you at 42, the positive way will get you further than the negative way. You may feel better with the negative way, but it won't get you further as if you process and react positively. Even in situations where things are not um, advantageous to you. So here's the thing I want to get you to realize. If you can endure the trenches, you can persevere in the corporate world. Think about that. If you can survive the trenches, survive the gunplay, survive living in the trenches. I really want to get kids to understand this. If you can survive living in the trenches, the corporate world can't touch what it takes to live and survive in the trenches. Um, Dealing with people on a daily basis in the trenches. What you're gonna find out is a lot of people they do some of the antics and stuff people do in the trenches, but it's just in the corporate world. But one thing they can't do that they do in the trenches though is depending on where you work at, but physical altercations rarely happen. They're not gonna happen. And maybe it depends on where you work at, verbal, but it don't go that far. But you gotta have the endurance and perseverance to not let it affect you that you want to react physically. And that's when you lose your job. Learning how to persevere. It's a sacrifice. My next one is you can't escape race. However, you can learn the perseverance mindset. I've learned in my 42 years of living. I'm not gonna ever tell you that you won't experience race situations that people have racist views and stuff like that. I'm not gonna never tell you you're not gonna experience that. But what I can tell you is you can persevere and overcome those things. How do you do that? Increase your skill level, increase your perseverance, and increase your endurance. You cannot control what another person thinks. You really can't do it. Even if you get physical with them, they still won't change their mind. I done seen it happen. Seen somebody get into a race, altercation, fight break out. People come back the next day at work, and it's still the same tension in the air. If a person don't want to change, they're not going to change. Nothing you can do about it. The best you can do is, how can I coexist in a positive way and be a professional, even in the chaos of the race and all the other stuff that can be chaotic? How can I still remain positive, produce, and persevere until my next opportunity comes? The best thing I can tell you is, don't let anything come between you and your money. As a man, especially if you got a family and kids. And I'll also tell you that when you develop yourself in some kind of education and you get into the career jobs and specialize in something, the less and less you start to see the race stuff. But it's all about perspective. It's all about how you react. It's all about how you persevere and all about how you endure. But it is possible. If you keep telling yourself you can't do it, you could be holding yourself back, and we're going to get to that. So, my next point, get in a stable position to make moves. First of all, what is it to be stable? To be stable is pretty much you're solid. Things are taken care of. You're living in a solid housing situation. You know your bills are paid and you have some money left over to do leisure things. You're not making a ton of money, but you're making enough to live on your own, and you don't have to borrow money in order to make it week to week or bi-weekly or whatever, check to check. You're able to operate independently without help from parents or any other source. Once you get stable, the sooner you invest your time in development, the chances of success increases. You get stable, you take care of business, stay on top of your paperwork, go to class, whatever you choose, apprenticeship, you execute on that, you get it done. Now, once you get the front end of your development done, your chances of success start to increase. Because when you get your apprenticeship done, you can take on journeyman jobs. You can network with people. You can make those kind of moves. But if you do not get in a stable position, you do not develop yourself, you're going to hear a lot of this. You're going to be hearing a lot of no's. But when you're stable, you get your development done, and you can articulate your skills and specialize in something, you're going to hear, you're going to be hearing a lot of that. People are going to want your skill because it's of value to whatever company or even yourself. As an entrepreneur, you can sell your skills and your time. So get in a stable position to make moves. And my last point on this, it's easier to make moves when you're in a stable place to operate from. Totally easier because you don't have a lot of uncertainties to think about. When you can independently operate, pay your bills, take care of health, being able to move around independently without having to borrow stuff and, you know, take out unnecessary loans, that's when you start to get to that stability point. You're solid. And when you become solid, now you can start looking at other opportunities because you're stable at the core of taking care of the house, taking care of the bills. Now you can start looking at other moves in order to increase your provision, increase your means to do more things. So, last one, I'm about to get off this thing. Do not be your own hurdle to overcome. Sometimes we can get in our own way. Sometimes we can put hurdles in front of ourselves. Do not let your ego become your own hurdle to overcome. Don't let your mindset become a tough hurdle to overcome. So, like I said on the podcast, sometimes I'm guilty of this. I created some of my own struggles because I was hard headed, because I didn't want to live up to the standard of what God wanted me to do. And I put my own hurdles in front of me when it could have been simpler. That's why it's important to get in tune and build your relationship with God and understand and work daily to live up to the standard that God wants you to live, because that's where your blessings is, that's where your wisdom is, and you never know what opportunities come from living up to the standard that God has for you, which is based in the Bible. But don't be in your own way. Keeping your mind in a positive place in order to overcome negativity. That's one of the toughest things, is when things are chaotic, to keep your mind in a positive place. Not easy to do, but when you get to that point in life where you can stay positive no matter what, you will start to see things a different way. Peace will be in the midst of you in a different way. And you will operate in a different way, whether people like it or not. Your peace is more important than what another person thinks, especially if they don't know you. Your health is more important. Don't allow other people to decline your health based on decisions that they made. Not judging them, not saying that they're right or wrong, but sometimes you can get so invested in another person's decision that they will decline your health. And they're going to keep making their decision, whatever they're doing. So you have to be mindful of those things. Don't let that become a hurdle to overcome. Dealing with yourself. Being able to develop your skills, even if you have to be isolated to do so. Sometimes, in order to go to the next level, you may have to do it by yourself. When I say by that, people gonna support you, but at certain points, you have to deliver on what they supporting you on. Like my wife and kids are supporting me to go to school, but I have to deliver the grades. I have to go to the classes. I have to sit in the class. They can't be in there with me. When I do the homework, I have to sit down at the computer at home and do the homework. They can't do the homework for me. I got to do that. I don't feel alone, but I know I have to isolate myself in order to not be distracted. I have to isolate myself in order to be able to execute and read more. because that's how life works, especially as a man. You cannot be afraid to go a different direction, even if you by yourself, if you know this was God leading you down. But you have to be comfortable and okay with the answer and let your results do the speaking. Because sometimes people argue with you about what you're doing. Then you have to ask them, so if you see the results and it's working for me, what are you doing that's not working? And why are you critical about something I'm doing that's working? That we both can clearly see. And that's the tricky part about being an adult is you have to look at your results and be honest about where you are. Can you do better? How did I get here? Good, bad, or indifferent. So with that being said, let me know in the comments if you like what you heard, some of the insight I gave. If I had to start from scratch in 2025, I would definitely increase discipline, self-discipline, make a strategy about what's available, get in a stable position, understand that sacrifice is necessary. Perseverance and endurance is a skill that you need to have in your mindset for anything, especially as an adult. And do not be my own hurdle to overcome. Don't get in my own way. Whether it's ego, whether it's being down on myself, whether it's being negative. I understand life happens and things happen, but you do not have to stay in negativity. You do not have to beat yourself up. We all make mistakes. I've made so many mistakes, but you sometimes the mistakes are the things that propel you to success. Because if you're always winning, you feel like that you don't have to do anything. There's no adjustments to be made. But in life, we have to make adjustments. Things happen. Nobody's undefeated. We have all took some losses in life, but the ones who overcome, make us adjust their strategy and get back to winning are the ones who reach greatness. Yo, this is Mike Motivation, getting ready to sign out.
It's always business, never personal.
Thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments what you think. And I will catch you on the next Mike Motivation.
That boy is good. Good and terrible.